I think most creators are buying the wrong MacBook because while everyone is chasing the newest M5 machines, I bought a used M1 Max MacBook Pro with 64 gigs of RAM for almost half the price. And after using it for a couple months, I kind of get why older Macs are becoming such a steal. And honestly, I think a lot of creators are overlooking just how good older Apple Silicon laptops are. So instead of buying one of the newer Macs, I started looking at older flagship models because even though RAM prices are getting better, the prices are still kind of ridiculous. And somehow I found this. A MacBook Pro M1 Max with 64 gigs of unified memory and 1 terabyte SSD for basically $1,300. This thing has a 10-core CPU, a 24-core GPU, and once again, 64 gigs of RAM. A couple years ago, this was basically Apple's dream creator laptop. I know it was mine. This was the machine people were spending $4,000, sometimes $5,000 on. And that's what made this interesting for me, because I can get this much performance around $1,000. Why am I supposed to spend thousands just to get the newest version? And after using this thing for the last couple months, I honestly think older flagship laptops are becoming one of the smartest buys for creators right now. Now, obviously, specs are cool, but none of this really matters if your laptop doesn't actually improve the day-to-day experience for creating. Before this, editing could get frustrating fast. Heavy timelines, effects, multicam footage, even simple exports sometimes feel like I'm waiting around than actually creating. But this MacBook honestly changed that almost immediately. Timeline playback smooth, scrubbing through footage feels instant, color grading doesn't slow everything down for the most part. Even edits and heavier effects were surprisingly easy with this thing. The biggest difference, honestly, isn't even the speed itself. It's what the speed allows you to do. When your computer stops getting in the way, it allows you to experience more. Like in my case, with the extra RAM and GPU speed, I was able to experiment with Apple Motion more and even create my own motion graphics inspired by Apple. And for a laptop that's already a few generations old, that's honestly kind of insane. But the weirdest part about owning this laptop is that it didn't make me faster. It actually made me more ambitiously creative. Before this, I almost stayed in my comfort zone, basic edits, simpler graphics, cleaner timelines. But once I realized that this machine could actually handle the heavier creative work, I started to experience way more. Once again, the biggest example of this is my Apple-like motion graphics, as well as more layers in my edits and my newfound interest in sound design. And honestly, I think creators underestimate how much your tools affect your willingness to create. Because when your laptop struggles, you're naturally going to start simplifying your ideas. But when your computer can actually keep up, suddenly those big ideas don't feel impossible anymore. And I think that's probably been the biggest update for me. Over the couple months, this MacBook has basically become my entire creative workstation. I've edited videos on my couch, in the bedroom. I finished exports late at night. I worked on thumbnails between shots. I've traveled with it, planned videos on it. Pretty much every piece of content that you've seen recently has touched this laptop in some way. And it doesn't just stop in my personal life either. For my professional life, I've used this laptop to create Google and Meta ads. I've helped refine campaigns through web and app creatives, and I dabbled a little bit in print as well. And I think that's what makes this laptop interesting. It stops feeling like just another tech product. It becomes part of your workflow, part of your routine, and part of the process in actually building something. And honestly, this is probably why I've enjoyed using this thing so much, is because it's powerful enough that I don't really have to think about it anymore. It just lets me create. Because I'm not gonna lie, this isn't a perfect setup. When you buy a laptop like this, especially off eBay, there's always some risks involved. Battery health might not be perfect, conditions vary a lot, and you're basically trusting whomever had it before you didn't push it too hard. Then there's the bigger stuff, like long-term support. This is already an M1 machine, so eventually Mac support will slow down. Additional features for Apple Intelligence may not come to this computer. Even then, I've ran into something random on my own unit. Every once in a while, I get a weird yellow burn-in looking spot on my display. It's not consistent, and sometimes I literally just rub it away, but it's there. So yeah, it's not flawless. So the real question becomes, is saving money actually worth all this uncertainty, or are you trading reliability for performance? And that's the thing. I think this is where people either love or regret buying used tech. Because once you accept the trade-offs, you realize just how much performance you're actually getting for the price. And this is what makes this laptop interesting. Not because it's perfect, but because it forces you to think about value. At this point, specs and performance are only part of the story, because the real question is, who is this machine actually for in 2026? Because it isn't for everyone. Is this actually the smartest buy in 2026, or are there people who would 100% regret getting something this old? If you're a creator, video editor, photographer, or someone working with heavier files, this still makes a lot of sense, especially if you care more about performance per dollar than having the newest features. But if you're a casual user just browsing, watching content, or maybe just doing some light work, there's honestly some better laptops out there. I would honestly recommend the MacBook Neo. And if you really need the latest features, AI tool, long-term software support, then yeah, this probably isn't it. So it really depends on what you actually need, not just what looks good on paper. So after a couple months of actually living with this machine and not just testing it, I think I finally understand where it stands for me. The performance is still ridiculous for the price. The workflow improvement is real. The value is honestly hard to ignore, but at the same time, it's not the newest, it's not the most future-proof, and definitely comes with its trade-offs. Is it actually worth it, or was I just convincing myself because the deal looked good? For what I do as a creator, yeah, this thing still delivers a level of performance that makes editing feel effortless. And when you compare it with what you spend on a newer machine for the same kind of power, it kind of puts things in perspective. Sometimes the best laptop isn't the newest one. It's just the one that actually gives you what you need without overpaying. And for me, that's exactly what this did. And that's been my experience with the M1 Max over a couple months. Not perfect, but honestly still one of the most capable laptops for the money. And as always, learn, create, and share.